right, good morning, everybody. For those of you who didn't hear me up top, my name is Venice Gordon. I'm going to be your tour guide today. My job is the Education and Enforcement Officer with the Ministry of Works and Engineering's Waste Management section. And part of what I do is give tours of the material recovery facility. You'll note how we do not call it a recycling plant. And you're probably wondering, what the heck am I doing here? I thought I was coming to learn about recycling. Well, you are going to learn about recycling today, but you're going to learn about the other two R's as well. And just by way of, I bet some of the kids here could probably help me. There are 3 R's. Do you guys know what they are? Do you learn them at school? Do you know what they are? Oh, excellent. Did we hear that? Did we hear that? Say it really loud. So I've got a microphone right here. Say it loud for me.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Excellent. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. And there's a reason why reduce and reuse come before recycle. And that is because this is all about how we impact our planet. By reducing our consumption, we have less of an impact on our planet. By reusing items, we have less of an impact on our planet. By recycling, we also have less of an impact on our planet, but our primary weapon of defense is obviously to reduce what we consume. The more we consume, the more has to be disposed of. The more has to be mined, the more natural resources used up. So reduction is our first point of defense when it comes to protecting our island home and our planet. Okay, and then reusing, that's kind of a no-brainer. You know, that's things like giving your stuff away to someone who can reuse it, okay? Whether that be the Salvation Army, the barn, whatever, or even just amongst friends. Recycling is the third one, but the reduce and the reuse really are up to every individual. That is not something that government can do for you. That is something that you have to find within yourself to change. Talk to your elders because they are champions of reducing and reusing. In their day, before Bermuda had its economic boom, they had tons of methods of doing that. And so they're really a treasure trove. You probably tell us tons of ways to reduce and reuse, I'm sure. Some of our senior citizens have got millions of ways of doing it, you know. So listen out and pay attention to them. Recycling is where we get involved as the government. And the things that we recycle in the plant are tin, aluminum, and glass, or TAG. That's our blue bag recyclables that can be put out on our curb once a week for collection. Some of the other things that we recycle here are vehicle batteries, household air conditioners, and what's known as e-waste or electronic waste. Okay? Anything that's powered by batteries or a power cord is considered electronic waste, should not be disposed of in your trash, and can be recycled through us. Okay? This bottle, by the way, is one of the ways of reducing waste, right? By having my own water bottle, I'm not constantly buying plastic bottles. I'm drinking my own tap water, so it doesn't cost me a fortune. A bottle of water like this would cost me $2, right? This I poured out of my tap this morning, and as long as my tap water is safe, which I believe most drinking water in Bermuda is, it should be just fine. So I'm going to have a little sip now before I get started. Incidentally, this bottle is aluminum, so it can be recycled when it's all dinged up and ugly and I don't want it anymore. So anyway, all right, let's get started with our tour of the material recovery plant. By explanation, that means that what we do here is amass materials. We recover them from the community. We package them up and we send them overseas to intermediaries who then either recycle them or broker them onto recycling plants. An actual recycling plant would smelt down the metals, melt them down at very high temperature, and turn them back into sheet metal. And then somebody else would buy that material and turn that back into cans. So what we do here is we amass the material, package it up in the way that the U.S. government wants it to be done, okay, to meet their health standards, and then we send it to the U.S. where it is reused or recycled there, okay? And you'll see that material recovery facility, if you're curious and you do a Google search, you'll see many jurisdictions have material recovery facilities that they then sell their material on to actual recyclers. So since we don't manufacture in Bermuda, that's what we do here. Okay, is we amass the stuff and then send it to somebody else. You ready to get started? Okay, come on in. is a safety area and that you have to wear hard hats and safety shoes. We're going to let you come into the plant without hard hats for this part of the tour. When we actually run the equipment, which we're going to do at the end of the tour, you'll have to have hard hats and safety glasses, okay? Right now, if we had the plant running, you wouldn't be able to hear a word I'm saying. So we're going to give you the tour with nothing running, and then after about 40 minutes, we're going to go upstairs to the viewing room. Some of you will view, others of you will come back down with hard hats on and glasses and actually get to see all the intricacies of the machinery, and then that group can leave and the next group can come down. So that's how we're going to have to do it. Otherwise, you would not be able to hear me at all. And there's glass flying when it happens, so it's not really safe to be in here. So anyway, let's go on in. We're going to go to the right, and we go through the door. It's a very heavy door, so be careful. Remember that, you know, the things that go in the blue bag are tin, aluminum, and glass, so we're going to have glass in the plant that's broken occasionally. Okay, everybody hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, right behind us, you'll see that there is a big pile of blue bags. This is material that was probably dropped off yesterday and some of it this morning. We get Corporation of Hamilton recycling on the weekends. They actually have 6-day-a-week or maybe even 7-day-a-week collection of garbage and recycling in the city, obviously, because their business is running. Household waste, as you know, or household recycling would be brought here on Thursdays and Fridays. So this is probably about half of Fridays and some corporation recycling. And you can see just from standing here, it's mostly tin, aluminum, and glass, but we do get the odd undesirable in with the mix. You can see that there's some styrofoam plates, if you look around, probably the odd plastic water bottle as well. We do have a lot of people in Bermuda who come from other jurisdictions where plastics are recyclable, and we're going to talk about why they're not in Bermuda in a minute. And so those people, when they come here, they bring their good habits with them. They're trying to recycle these things, but obviously we're not recycling them in Bermuda. So those would be the things that we don't want in our recycling mix, and we do have a way to get them out, and I'll show you how that all happens in a minute. But this is primarily what we end up with, and I don't know if anybody's noticed there's a slight odor. I'm kind of immune to it at this point, but I know that it's there because I bring kids here all the time, and the first thing they do is go, ooh! And you're being very good. You're not doing the ew face at all. I'm impressed. It does smell, and that's obviously because, you know, we've got wine bottles, we've got beer bottles, we've got cat food cans, we've got baked bean tins, we've got whatever you would have liquor or food in. And if you don't rinse your recyclables out, then you're creating an unpleasant work environment for the folks who work here. So be kind. Remember to just give them a quick rinse. We're not asking that you scrub them out and polish them with a cloth, but we're asking that you just give them a quick rinse to make working here a bit more pleasant for the folks who work here. They do a wonderful service for Bermuda by helping us to recycle. And, you know, we should show them the respect that they need by just being nice and rinsing out stuff. So, Jay, Leo, do you want me to introduce you? This is Jay on the left here, Leo on the right. These two gentlemen work here. They help to sort the material and transport it from here into the thing. So we have a contractor who brings the recyclables here, and they drop them off for us, and then Jay is actually our guy who picks them up using this, I call it the scoopy thing. I believe the correct term is the backhoe. Is that correct? I don't know. It's the scoopy thing, yeah? They'll pick the material up. This is their first point of contact with the material, if you like. They pick it up using the payloader, bring it in, and dump it on the beginning of the conveyor belt system. And we're going to show you all of this working. It's not nearly as exciting when I'm just talking about it, but you would not be able to hear me, trust me. Let's go on in and have just a quick walk through the machine, and then we can turn on and get it going for you.
You can put aerosols in there.
Yes, you can.
Oh, you can.
I just had a question, folks. Somebody wanted to know if they could put aerosols in there. By all means, please do watch your feet. Let me move that out of the way. There we go. Thanks. Yeah, by all means, you can recycle your aerosol cans. It's fine. This is where it starts to get a little bit smellier. So underneath the blue bags here, there's actually the beginning of a conveyor belt system. Do you guys know what a conveyor belt is? Okay. Have you ever been on an airplane? I bet you have. Have you been on an airplane? Okay. Do you remember when your luggage came out on the other end when you got where you were going, and your luggage was going round and round, and mom or dad had to pick your luggage up for you? Do you remember that? Sort of, kind of. That's called a conveyor belt. It's a belt that moves things around, okay? And in this case, the conveyor belt helps us do the work here. Underneath here is a variable speed conveyor belt. And the speed is variable because if we have a lot of contaminant in here, i.e. plastic water bottles and stuff, we want to adjust the speed. So if we have tons of plastics, we want them to move through slower so that we can remove them from the recycle stream, okay? So we tend to get a lot of plastic from the city of Hamilton. We tend to get a lot of drinking straws, pieces of fruit and stuff like that, because bartenders just casually throw things into the recycle bin along with the recyclables. So depending on what's in there, we'll have to slow down or speed up the machine. This machine can do 20 tons an hour. 20 tons an hour. And for those of you who went to the old recycling plant, I know there are some folks here who may have, it used to take us a whole week to process Bermuda's recyclables. So they would work 7 hours a day on a picking belt, manually sorting all that stuff. We can now recycle all of Bermuda's blue bag recyclables in about 6 hours. So that doesn't mean for the rest of the week we're sitting around playing solitaire on the computers, though. That's allowed us to increase our suite of recyclables. That's why we've been able to add the electronic waste. That's why we've been able to add the household air conditioners and the vehicle batteries. So as we speed up the processes by which we can do the work, we can add more recyclables to the suite of recyclables. And I forgot, I mentioned plastics outside just really briefly. We don't recycle plastics in Bermuda because we have a waste-to-energy facility. That's what Tynes Bay is. How many people knew that Tynes Bay was not only an incinerator but also generated electricity? Some folks did, but a lot of people don't realize that. And so when we burn things at Tynes Bay, we actually generate electricity. So burning plastics actually gives a lot of caloric value to that incinerator. It's very high in energy for the incinerator because it is actually oil. That's what plastic is, a byproduct of the oil industry. So they burn the plastics there and they turn them into electricity. So in some ways, one can argue that they're being reused on the island in that way. So that is why we do not do that. Also, from most of the reading that I've done and most of the other organizations I've checked with, many of the plastics are not recyclable. You'll notice if you start recycling and getting very conscious now, if you look on the bottom of your recyclables, does anybody have a water bottle with them that I can have a quick look at? Okay, may I? This gentleman has a plastic water bottle here, and you'll see right on the bottom there's a little triangle, and in that triangle there's actually a number. Plastics are numbered 1 through 7. Now 1s and 2s are what most beverages come in, and those are the ones that can primarily be recycled. And when I say recycled in quotes like that, it's not a perfect loop. That's what I'm referring to. Aluminum is a perfect loop. It gets melted down, made back into sheet metal, made back into aluminum cans. With plastics, there is no perfect loop. A number 1 plastic bottle does not get melted down and made back into a plastic bottle. It gets turned into fleece fabric. You've got a fleece jacket on there? Yeah, it gets turned into this kind of fabric or carpeting. Sorry to single you out. So perhaps her jacket at one time was a bunch of water bottles or soda bottles. But there is no perfect loop in the plastics recycling yet. And for most of the folks that I've talked to in the States where they have plastic MRFs, remember this is a MRF, okay, where they take the plastics, what they're actually doing for the most part is exporting those shredded plastics to China where they're turned into other consumer goods like fleece or carpet. And some of them may even be being burnt in China to generate electricity just like we do here in waste-to-energy plants. So there are a number of reasons why we don't recycle the plastics here. One is primarily to create power through the incinerator. The other is that it's really not a perfect loop at this point. And because it isn't a perfect loop like aluminum, there's not a lot of financial incentive. It would be very cost ineffective for government to try and sell those plastics overseas. Okay?
Question.
Sure.
The sorting here is done by hand?
No,
I mean,
no.
when you remove the plastics.
The plastics, yes, we do have to remove the contaminants by hand. Yes, we do. We do.
Health issues with that? Health issues?
All of the folks who work here will wear all the appropriate safety equipment, including, tear-proof gloves to protect them from broken glass. They'll wear ear protection, eye protection, hard hats, and have been, immunized against anything that they could pick up. Okay? Yeah, safety is a primary concern here.
Don't they make outdoor furniture with some of the plastic?
They can do, yes, that's a good point. This lady pointed out that, I'm gonna give you that. Yeah, this lady just pointed out that they do make outdoor furniture with some of the plastics, and that's true. Yeah, outdoor fabric. Yes, yes, that's correct.
And the seats that you stood on when you're at the bus stop.
That's right. The faux wood or the fake wood that's used in a lot of park benches is also plastic. That's correct, yes. And also we sell composters that are made out of recycled plastic as well. So there are other things. Yes, ma'am.
I've seen higher numbers on bottles. Does that mean the quality of plastic is varying?
It's not, I wouldn't say quality. It's the chemical additives in the plastic that give it its certain flexibility and stuff. Most drinking or beverage containers should be 1 or 2. I wouldn't drink anything out of anything other than 1 or 2, and I don't really drink out of plastics anyway if I can help it. But 3s actually contain PVC. 5s contain some pretty concerning stuff. So yeah, you usually won't find any juices or things packaged in anything other than 1s or 2s. Yeah, yeah. Tupperware type things and stuff are usually 5s. Okay. All right. Everybody ready to get going upstairs? So we've got our variable belt system here. It's going to push the material along, and you'll see that it's stepped. The next part of the conveyor belt is stepped, and that's to prevent stuff from rolling back down the slope. Does that make sense? Yeah. Here we go. Okay. Right behind me, you'll see that there is a touchpad system. This is how the entire plant is run, through a wonderful touchpad system. So just like any kind of modern technology now, we can do everything from within here. We can diagnose problems. We can be on a cell phone with the manufacturer of the equipment overseas, and we can correct issues if we have any right from here. We also have a control panel like this upstairs as well that you'll see when you go up there. But it's really quite simple. I'm not going to touch it because even though it's simple, I don't know how to use it. But this is how everything works. So it's really quite simple. And you'll notice that we have emergency stops all over the place. One gentleman did ask me about safety just now. We have a perfect safety record here at the plant. We've been running since the spring of 2007. And touch wood, we've had no injuries yet. We'd like to keep it that way. We do have emergency stops everywhere. There's heavy equipment. It moves really fast. So we have to shut the plant down right away if anybody were to be injured. So we do pay lots of attention to safety. All right, so right up above us is our first point of separation. We have several points of separation in the plant. The one right up above us is called the bag ripper or the bag shredder. At the old plant, people had to tear the bags apart by hand. Can you imagine on a nice August day having a bag full of stinky cat food cans and beer bottles and having to tear that apart by hand with your face inches away from the plastic? So we now have a machine that does that job for us, the bag ripper. And it tears the plastic off, and it does attempt to separate out some of the plastics right then and there, although we do part of that manually as well. But at least the bag is torn away, so it makes the job a lot easier. If you want to proceed on down now, we're going to go to the sorting room. All right, this is the sorting room, and this is the one room in which we do have to have contact with the material. This is where we would remove any contaminants. And when I say the word contaminant, I don't mean things that are hazardous to our health. I mean things that are undesirable in the recycling stream. Remember, right here, we are working with TAG, tin, aluminum, and glass only. So we don't want that Clorox bottle, for example. So one of the gentlemen, oh, there's one right now. The invisible man's working today. As you can see, he's standing there holding on to the railing. I'm not sure that it's ethical to work without any clothes on, but there you go. It is Saturday after all. You can edit that out of the tape. But the gentlemen who work here or the ladies who work here would stand here and they would take out anything like pieces of plastic bag that the bag shredder didn't remove, Clorox bottles, water bottles, anything like that. The rest of the material we would allow to continue on the belt. Okay. We used to have a little wall of shame in here, i.e. things that people included in their recycling that we didn't want. We had a portrait of someone's granddad. We had a rubber ducky. We had a red racing car. I don't know why anybody would try to recycle their granddad. Maybe they thought he was such a good guy they'd like to see him again. I don't know, but we used to have a whole wall of things. We've got a couple of things up here now. Yeah, we've got a tiger cup. That's really a shame. Now, who would go and recycle their Tigger and Pooh cup? But we do get the odd funny thing in here, videotapes, audio, things like that. So some people get a little confused about what can and cannot be recycled. But anyway. All right, so this is where the only area where we have to have contact with the material, okay, in terms of actual hands-on. And the bag's removed already, so you're really kind of standing back and just pulling the plastics out. Okay, and again, we can vary the speed of this. Remember, if we've got a whole bunch of fruit, plastic cups, drinking straws and stuff, we can slow this right down so that we can get all those materials out. Okay? In fact, we just finished doing a waste audit this week. I was here all week working with a group of students from Bermuda College, their environmental science class, and we went through bags from randomly selected bags. Oh, are you okay, sweetheart? Okay. We went through randomly selected bags from over 400 households on the island, and we'll have those results out next week. So not only do we know how much household waste is produced, but we know what the composition of the waste would be as well.
And
okay.
Do you know what percentage is actually recycled?
I would say, based on what we've done in past waste audits, that about 25 to 30% of Bermuda's residents are recycling.
And have you seen it progressively increase?
No, I will be truthful with you. It's about the same all the time. And I think from having looked at places like the Center for Container Recycling, I think that's what it's called, in Washington, D.C. They're a nonpartisan group that just looks at recycling numbers. That when you have a recycling system in place in a community and it's not mandatory or there's no financial incentive to recycle, those are about what you're going to get. So we would have to, in order to increase our numbers, either make it mandatory or create some kind of bottle bill.
So are we relative to other parts of the world, or where are we on that
We're
scale?
about the same as a state like Pennsylvania, where there's no mandatory recycling or no bottle
So
bill.
it's pretty down on the ladder, or?
We're about 25 to 30%. I'm not going to say that that's
Okay.
more, whether
Yeah,
it's down on the ladder or
okay.
not. Yeah, I mean, obviously in countries where it's mandatory, you're going to have a lot more.
higher.
Yes, yes. But don't forget, yes, sure.
Well,
I am.
I mean, maybe I missed this, but what total percentage of Bermuda's waste potentially could be recycled?
Oh, wow, what total percentage could be recycled? Well, for the household, it's about 15% tin, aluminum, and glass for the household waste stream. Did everybody hear that question? Annie wanted to know what percentage of Bermuda's waste could actually be recycled. And while I just stated that about 25 to 30% of all folks are recycling out of the actual total household waste stream, and that's not the island's entire waste stream, but the household, i.e. what you put out on your curb, it's about 15% recyclables. About 10% of that is glass, and obviously this is by weight, so the glass is going to weigh more. About 3% is aluminum and about 2% is tin, okay? The tin and the aluminum kind of switch back and forth, but the glass stays steady somewhere around 10%. Okay.
There are some systems in Germany that allow 100% recyclable of everything. Like, for instance, in Bermuda here, with the systems they use in Germany, they can recycle 100% of all of Bermuda's waste.
Well, can you explain what you mean by that?
Turn it all into energy. In Germany, there are no landfills, the capital last landfill now.
Right,
and
right.
There are systems in there that can be looked at, that can be adapted for Bermuda, that will recycle all of Bermuda's waste.
Okay.
Including sewage,
Right.
including its household waste, including its construction waste, and sorted all by hand.
Sorted by hand, great.
No, not by
okay.
hand, sorry, automatically, not by hand.
Automatically, really. I'd like to see those. I'd be very interested. This system is actually partially made in Germany.
Right.
You're going to always have to have a hands-on component. There's only so much that things can do, really.
I'll send you the information.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, that'd be great.
100%
Yeah,
recycled.
right.
No,
So you
it's
just put everything in one bag and it all
There you
goes
go,
through
sorts
there.
it, sorts it
Right.
all.
Sorts it all.
All of it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd be curious to see that. Yeah. I've heard about what's called a dirty MRF. This is a MRF, as you know. A dirty MRF is one where we would take all your waste and we would sort it all out. And it would absolutely be the most horrendous job, having done a waste audit for the second year in a row now, and several times having almost lost my lunch.
Right, and
Yeah.
it can produce oil clean, and the oil clean energy comes from it. And the waste
Yeah.
that comes from
Be
that,
careful when you say clean energy, because incineration is considered green energy, but it's not. It produces dioxins, okay? Yeah.
you know, I'm very aware of what I'm saying.
Okay, okay.
So if I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it that's factual.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it afterwards, because I am very interested, and this machine was partially made in Germany. Okay, so right behind me, everyone, you can probably see that there's a yellow sign there that says caution. Can I get one of my young folks to read what that says underneath caution? Can somebody see that yellow sign right there? You can't see that? What was that? Can you say that again?
Magnet.
Come on, say it again. Say it again.
Strong magnet.
Strong magnet. That's right, guys. This is where science gets kind of cool, okay? Remember you did magnetism in school and you thought, well, that's kind of cool. It can make iron shavings make funny patterns. But what do I need to know this for, okay? This is when science actually has a practical application. We use a magnet here to remove one of our three components. Does anybody know which of the three components would actually be attracted to a magnet? Would it be the glass? Would it be the aluminum?
Tin.
It's actually tin, and tin is actually not really tin, it's actually steel, okay? And that's why it removes it. Steel is magnetic, okay? So, there's a strong magnet underneath there. You've got your waste stream coming through, or your recycle stream, I should say, coming through underneath. You've got your tin, aluminum, and glass. When this machine is on, and you're going to see it, it's very cool. The magnet will pick the tin up, but the conveyor belt will push it this way, where it drops out of the magnetic field, and then the tin is conveyed up behind these folks here into a tin hopper, okay? Or we should really call it steel. We thought about calling it steel, but then our put the tag in the blue bag would be put the sag in the blue bag. It's just not quite as impactful, is it, as put the tag in the blue bag. So I don't know, I like the sag in the blue bag myself, but there you go. All right, so put the tag in the blue bag wouldn't have worked. And we do mostly say, oh, that's a tin can, don't we? Even though it's not really made from tin. In the past, those cans would have been made from tin, and so that's why we're kind of all fixated on that culturally, calling them tin, okay? So that's where your magnet comes into play and pulls your steel out for you. This machine here is the magic machine, because what this machine does is separate the glass from the aluminum. What it does is it actually grips the glass with a series of very big teeth. The aluminum float over those teeth because it doesn't grab onto it. The glass gets broken, falls down through gravity, and ends up in a glass crushing system on the other side of the machine. The aluminum falls down here, and you're going to be able to see all this, remember, falls down here and then ends up on this conveyor belt here that has electronic sensors located on either side, and the electronic sensors then tell the machine to puff air up and throw the aluminum in there. So that's very cool, and you'll see all of that working. So, all right. We're done with this part. Let's just take a quick walk around, see all the other things that we recycle, and then we can turn the machine on for you, okay?
Where in the States does our stuff go? Where?
I don't actually broker it. The gentleman who runs the MRF brokers it, but I would guess it's the East Coast. I know he deals with several different people, and what we try to do is we try to wait for the market to go up, just like you buy low, sell high. We try to get the highest price we can for it. So when the market's high, we'll sell. Right now, it's so-so. We're getting about 65 cents a pound for aluminum right now.
And how many pounds on average goes out? Like how often do you
So how efficient?
Well, it would depend on the market. Like last year, the market was really awful, so we held for months and months and months. And that's one of the luxuries of having this plant. Now, don't everybody heard the question up there? People were asking about how often we send out aluminum or steel. Okay, we send those out based on what the market is doing. Okay, they're commodities just like gold or silver or anything else would be. So when the market's high, we will sell them. The more we can sell them for, the more we can defray the cost of waste management in Bermuda. No, no, yeah, I mean, once a tin can is out of here, we don't know where, yeah. Obviously, it's not going to a landfill. We are selling it to somebody who's recycling it. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean, nobody would pay us money to then landfill it. So we do know that it's recycled. And I was just watching a video on YouTube the other day. It's one produced by Alcoa, or one of the major aluminum people, and they said in that video that about 1/3 of all aluminum that's ever been mined is still in use because it's being recycled. Okay. It needs to be higher than that. Yeah. We've got a whole bunch of electronic waste. You may remember that we had an electronic waste drop-off day a couple of months ago. We're doing 3 of those this year, and last year we sent about trying to remember. Last year we sent about 8 container loads of electronic waste overseas. This year we're going to send more than that by virtue of the fact, I know this, I have a crystal ball. Now how do I know this? Because we had 1 e-waste recycling day and we filled a container and a half just in that one day. So if that's anything to reflect the whole year, then we're going to do a lot more than that. A lot of our electronic waste comes in from cell phone companies, from a lot of the larger employers like the bank. When they're doing a swap out, they will come down and they will bring us all their monitors and all their old CPUs and stuff.
What percentage of that is actually
reused or recycled? Recycled. Well, we send all of our electronic waste to a facility just outside of Philadelphia, and I'm sure some of you have seen the horror stories on television of e-waste ghettos in third world countries where there are children squatting over a burning computer monitor in order to retrieve the lead after the plastic has burnt away. Can you imagine how unhealthy that is? And how destitute these people are in order to be able to survive that way, or to have to survive that way. We actually pay a lot of money to dispose of our e-waste correctly. God forbid that somebody's laptop that they give us ends up in a landfill somewhere and someone pulls the hard drive out and calls you and says, "Hi, I'm in so-and-so country and I've just gotten your hard drive out of a computer in a landfill." So we try very hard not to let that happen here. We do actually pay money to have the e-waste recycled properly. Okay, so, and we do what's called due diligence. We actually send our staff members up there for surprise visits every now and then to make sure that they're operating correctly. Okay, so as far as what percentage goes, whatever metals they can extract, that's what they'll reuse or recycle. Okay, and you'll see that these boxes are actually pretty hardcore. The United States is very picky about what it will allow to come across its borders. So we have to buy special boxes. We have to buy brand new pallets. We can't just use the pallets that come into Bermuda. These have to be treated pallets because the U.S. won't accept any old thing that they've shipped out of the country back in. They want to make sure that they don't get any foreign bugs. The strength of these packages is to protect people's safety on both this end and that end. Anybody who's handling this, if there's anything sharp or dangerous in there, it's not going to affect them. Okay. Over here is where we do the vehicle batteries. Oh, nope, nothing in there? Nope. All my vehicle batteries. Okay, I don't have any vehicle batteries. They've been so good, they've processed all of them. Vehicle batteries are normally processed in this corner. There's probably some in that box. Yes, you can see the corrosive sign on the side there. Again, another safety feature. We have to comply with the US EPA standards for all these materials. Vehicle batteries are very cool, guys. They got all of us here today. But they're also very dangerous. They contain acid, they contain lead. They can do a real number on marine life, on just terrestrial life, and on us, of course, right? They're corrosive, they can burn our skin and stuff. But they're also one of the most recyclable things. Almost everything in them can be recycled. They can take the lead out, they can reuse that, they can take the acid out, they can use that again. So they're really good stuff. And last year, bet you didn't know this, but last year this was our #1 recycled item in Bermuda. Even though you didn't know about it, because whenever you take your car or your vehicle to somebody who services for you and they tell you you need a new battery, they keep your old one there and we collect it from them. So you never have to be involved in the process. We actually sent 28 container loads of vehicle batteries overseas for recycling last year. So we feel that that's a pretty good recovery rate. There's no real way to know if we're getting 100% because if you swap your battery out at home, God forbid, and throw it in the bushes, or if you take one to the dock and you swap out at your boat and you throw it overboard, there's no way for us to really know that. But we are getting good collection and good high recycling rates, we feel, because we get them from all of the boat and car mechanic places. Okay.
How many of these boxes will fit in one container?
That's a good question. I think about 20, actually. Yeah. Well, actually, no, that's not right, because our containers are 20 feet, aren't they? And you can't stack them too high. We're not allowed to. We have to stack them one high. Because they contain corrosive material, we can't stack them. So I'm not sure, about 10 probably. I can check on that number for you. You guys are asking good questions today. The question was how many boxes can go in a container. We might have a container down there and we could possibly can't. Okay. So vehicle batteries, electronic waste, our tin, aluminum, and glass. Tin on one side and our aluminum on the other side. And look at that nice tin side. Look at that. The tin is perfect. There's no plastic bags, no rubbish in there, right? Because the magnet just doesn't lie. If you go home today and take a fridge magnet around the house, you're going to find the only thing it's going to stick to are things that contain steel. The magnet doesn't lie. The eddy current separator that does the aluminum is a little bit dodgy in its sensitivity, and so we do tend to get a lot of plastic bags in with the aluminum. Even still, when we broker the material, it's considered to be 98% pure. Okay, we've got a 2% contamination rate. And what I tell the students when they come here is if you were doing 98% of your schoolwork right, you'd be doing good, wouldn't you? So 2% failure rate or a 2% contamination rate, we're okay with that. The people we broke the material to are okay with that. That's considered passable.
That's not cleaned up any further.
Not at all, no, no.
Is there a problem with the paper labels?
No, there is not. No. But if you want to take them off, it'd be great. Yeah, I did take mine off before I lived in this jurisdiction, but yeah, it's fine. You can leave them on there. So you can see the difference in the technologies. The magnet, plain, old-fashioned, simple magnetism does the trick every time. The special eddy current separator that's set up for the aluminum has a slight failure rate there. Okay.
At what capacity is the plant operating relative to what it's capable of?
Well, the machine is capable of doing 20 tons an hour, and we don't run it quite at that speed. I think we run it at about 15. So we could do another 5 tons an hour. And also we're running about 6 hours a week, so we could run it more. And we did deliberately build a machine with all of that redundancy in there because you want your recycling program to grow. So if we were running at 100% capacity now, there would have been no point in building the new machine. So.
Are there any programs in work to try to increase recycling?
Sure, that's why you're here today. That is why you're here today. I've been in this position for 2.5 years. I've given over 100 tours. I do work with schools. I do work with companies. And I do try to work with folks, just the general public to get folks in here. I think seeing is believing. I still hear things from people who know me, and I'm really shocked and amazed when they say this. Oh, we know that you're just cramming all the cans in the caves down there at the quarry. Or we know you don't really recycle because 15 years ago we were outside the Oasis bar at 3 o'clock in the morning and we saw the Corporation of Hamilton guys throw a bag full of beer bottles in the back of a truck. So they saw that once, and they're convinced that there's no recycling program in Bermuda. And I know that there are, it's not a perfect system. Things like that have happened. I've seen guys do stuff like that. It applies about 120